That is absolutely ridiculous. My mother and I rarely talk about city politics, and whatever went on with my mom and the mayor 20 years ago, I have no clue about that. So I would like to know a couple things. One, I sent an email yesterday to the mayor. She had claimed on KGAB the other day that this was all personal, and that I had indicated that this was all personal to people within the HR department here, as well as other council members. And that email said basically, I want to know who you feel that I've said that to, because one, I haven't said it. I want to have a meeting with those folks. I don't expect to get a reaction. I want to have a meeting with those folks along with the city attorney and the mayor to justify that and say, hey, yeah, Rocky made this claim. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry, guys.
No, you're totally fine.
I'm trying to put this is ridiculous.
Rocky, are you stepping back from the claim about the massage in Detroit?
Well, as far as the massage, here's the deal. I never said it was definitely a massage. I said on a Google search against that vendor in Detroit, the first component that comes up is top things to do in the Detroit airport. I have not had a chance to see the receipt that was distributed in the mayor's press conference. However, yeah, I don't know what Relax and Go is, but this is not a vendor receipt. This is a ledger item from an accounting system. So I don't know who coded MCC description as taxi cabs and limousines. Perhaps it wasn't a massage, but I would like to see a vendor receipt to prove that. And council will be working and is working over the next few weeks to get ordinances on the books that demand itemized receipts for all transactions against the city credit card. I think our threshold is going to be $15 and above. What else?
Do you think you can still work with the mayor?
Well, I think the council has to work with the mayor. I mean, that's our job, is to scrutinize what's coming out of the administration and make a decision based on public input and discussion as to whether or not these are, each item that comes before us is appropriate.
Could we also talk about where City Council is right now with the Bloomberg funds, going back through those? I know over $50,000 is being returned. Where is City Council sitting at? What are you guys thinking?
So we have just completed going through 2018 and 2019 credit card statements. As far as the grant money, that ship has sailed. We do need some justification as far as the $23,000 that was spent against the grant, and whether or not who's going to be responsible for that tab. Is it going to be the city taxpayers, or how are we going to deal with that? So there's still some questions around that in terms of the grant money. But by and large, when the entirety of the credit card statements, there's definitely some glaring issues that we're going to have to ask some tough questions. The mayor has a history of when you bring an issue to her that she disagrees with, that she gets very defensive, and it's very difficult to have those conversations and et cetera. And this is definitely a volatile situation. Certainly, city taxpayer dollars are at stake here, and we're being the steward of those dollars. But to suggest this is somehow personal, and now to bring my mother in from something that happened 2 decades ago, which I know absolutely nothing about, this is certainly not vengeful. This is about taking care of the city taxpayer dollars. End of story.
Rocky, I understand there might be some ethics ordinances put forward in the city council. Do I have that right?
Well, we're working on several things right now in terms of that. We're working on putting this elected individuals underneath the umbrella of the employee handbook. We're also we're working on how are the financial component's going to work in the future in terms of expenditures. I favor a reimbursement program. We're working on a whole host of issues, and we're going to be putting in ordinance because the employee handbook, it's very hard to put consequences onto electeds. So we're going to be putting in ordinance things like receipts must be submitted with those expenses. You cannot purchase certain things on city dollars. So we're still working on those things. The ethics statutes at the state level are weak at best, and that's unfortunate. But we're going to do what we can to ensure that city dollars are spent appropriately in the future.
And then you said that you know nothing about what happened with your mom, and Marian seems pretty convinced that that is playing a role in this. So were you aware of the situation at all?
Well, I've heard about this situation,
Okay.
but I mean, to make a claim that any of what I'm doing as part of my responsibility on city council, this somehow something to do with whatever spat my mother had with the mayor 20 years ago is absolutely ridiculous.
Is it true city council was not allowed in the press conference upstairs?
Well, so we were not even invited, actually, and when an individual from the media sent me a text message and said, hey, what do you know about this conference at 11:30? So we cascaded that message to all of council, and it looks like a whole lot of people showed up, and no staff was allowed in, no department heads were allowed in. My understanding is only the press was allowed in.
So did Michael Skinner say that no one can come in the room?
Actually, it was Eric Fountain that said no one could come in the room, or at least told me that no one could come in the room.
Did you call him?
No, I haven't talked to anybody. No.
And is it like procedural for council to like be notified when there's press conferences for like other types of issues?
As far as I know, anytime a press release goes out, it's sent to all city employees, identified press, and all city council. And we did not receive this one.
Going forward, I know that there's been a lot of scrutiny on city council and the mayor. Maybe just some nicer, uplifting words to the city of Cheyenne, what you plan to do going forward and holding.
Well, no, this really is an unfortunate situation because one, no, it's not personal. And two, it's becoming more and more evident as we look at the city credit card statements that there are at least the appearance of impropriety. Absolutely. And so we're going to be diving deeper into that. Can we perhaps work together in a better fashion? I would sure hope so, but you know, not when, God, I wish I could say what I wanted to say. Sorry. God, I just wish, no, I wish I could, no, I can't say it. It's difficult to do when you're, you know, when meetings take a less than professional turn. It's difficult to do that. You know, I like to, I operate with what an acronym that I've developed over the years is called TRIC: transparency, respect, integrity, and kindness. And if those components are not part of the meeting, it's very difficult to move a piece of business forward as a governing body.
Rocky, the mayor essentially called you a liar this morning. How do you respond to that?
Well, if we're talking about the claim that this one charge was a massage, again, with the limited amount of research that I've had been able to do, along with this receipt, which is not a vendor receipt, there's still questions as to what that charge was for. You know, maybe it wasn't a massage, but no, I'm not a liar, and I have voluminous, I have volumes of credit card statements over here to my left, which you all feel free to take a look at, which call to question some significant spending over the last few years.